Hey everyone, Nick here from Another Booktube channel, and today I'll be reviewing the internet sensation Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This book blew up in the reading community last year as being something completely new, a slice-of-life fantasy story. I was hesitant to read it myself as my concern was that it was going to be all surface-level fantasy, basically a regular, boring story, but with a fantasy facade slapped onto it. But the praise continued to roll in, and I figured, why not give it a shot? Legends and Lattes follows Viv, an orc who has given up her nomadic life of bounty hunting and bloodshed to finally put down roots and claim something permanent as her own. Her dream is a modest one, to open a cafe and serve coffee. However, this simple plan is complicated by the fact that nobody in this world knows what coffee is. We follow Viv throughout the journey of starting her business, hiring employees, renovating the location, planning a menu, basically the trials and tribulations of running a small business. Viv must also contend with a seedy local element who wants to extort her for protection money, as well as a threat from her past life as a warrior. I really did not expect to like Legends and Lattes. I enjoy fantasy for its thrilling magic, epic quests, detailed lore, and complex characters, of which there is basically none of in this book. Hell, I don't even like coffee. And yet, this book did succeed in putting me under its spell. Maybe it's just because I was coming off of reading Rhythm of War, a door-stopper-sized epic that really took a lot out of me, but I found myself completely welcoming this pleasant, low-stakes story. Author Travis Baldree really wanted this book to be a cozy read, and he succeeds in that completely. The most graphic scenes in here are not of glorious battles or dazzling magic spells, but vivid descriptions of the process of making coffee, cinnamon rolls, and croissants. Baldree makes the reader relive the sensation of walking into a cafe and being overwhelmed by the scent of freshly brewed coffee and pastries right out of the oven. Even I, someone who doesn't like coffee and is allergic to gluten, couldn't help but feel a sense of peace reading these passages. My favorite bits in Legends and Lattes were when real-world coffee shop problems would infringe on the fantasy. For instance, within just a couple days of opening her shop, Viv's Cafe attracts a local student who wanders in, sits down at a booth, takes out all of his papers and textbooks, and he just studies for hours and hours, and then gets up and leaves without ever ordering a single item from the menu. I worked at a Barnes & Noble with a cafe, and I can tell you how frustrating it is as a business when this happens. People would literally show up at opening, post up in the corner with a laptop and some school books, and they would just sit there for hours. I believe we did require them to make a purchase in order for them to stay, or we would kick them out. Which is exactly what Viv learns is necessary in her own cafe. There are definitely drawbacks to cozy reading, though, which I experienced for the first time with this book. In regards to the conflicts that do arise, because Baldree doesn't want things to get too serious or stressful, the threats and the consequences of them are pretty quickly resolved with a neat little bow. I understand that that is the draw of a book like this, but it's not something that I am personally used to as a reader, so I did find it to be a bit dull at times. You'd be reading that, oh, this is going to be a problem, but in the back of your head, you already kind of know it's not really going to be a problem because it'll just get sorted out in the next 10, 15 pages or so. And that is true of pretty much everything that happens here. However, no stress from extortion or magical thieves can match the stress of potentially failing as a business owner. The only time during this book that I felt actual concern for Viv was when she first opens her shop and no customers show up. Watching her put so much effort into starting her new life and not have it be an immediate success was so stressful to read. I've never started a small business, but I have recently started a YouTube channel. And although this is not intended to be a means of income and is just something I do for fun, I feel I can relate to Viv a bit in those moments. I put a lot of effort into these videos, and when something that I'm really proud of underperforms, it can feel a bit like, well, what was the point? Well, as Legends and Lattes tells us, the point isn't just to make your entire life be about one cafe, but to have one cafe be just a small part of your entire life. So is Legends and Lattes worth the hype? As someone who doesn't have a lot of experience with cozy fiction, I think it's a fun book that doesn't overstay its welcome and accomplishes what it sets out to do. The characters we do meet, such as the succubus Tandri, who becomes Viv's barista, and Thimble, a little rat creature who becomes her pastry chef, are charming and sweet, even if they are lacking in much dimension. The fantasy elements of the story are present and relevant enough to justify this book not just being set in the real world, but not overwhelming enough to gatekeep this book from non-fantasy readers. Overall, my arbitrary and subjective grade of Legends and Lattes is 7 out of 10. Do with that what you will. Do you think Legends and Lattes is deserving of its popularity? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for spending some time with me today, but now it's time to get back to reading.